see why people don't film outside. There's too much going on outside. So, I graduated. Honestly, I've just felt so connected to God and my purpose and my calling. I feel like I've learned a lot about myself in this past year as well. And I think that God has been able to use me in a very unique way this year. So, shout out him for that. I graduated with a bachelor's of computer science, concentrating in data science, minoring in mathematics. Ayo. And I didn't have any job offers when I graduated, so I ended up moving back to Georgia with my dad, my stepmom, and my two little sisters. Also in the process of interviewing for a job in Jersey City, so yeah, I was very much giving them last 104 days of summer vacation, getting to spend some time with my family, which was really cool. Then packing it up and headed back up north. Oh yeah, that's not what happened. My first week being here, I was very bored. Even during vacations and breaks, I either had a job or I had a set place that I wanted to go or things that I wanted to do with my friends. But being by myself technically for the first time in a while was different, to say the least. I unpacked my room a little bit, kind of just took out some of the things. I also finally saw the movie Sinners very late, actually, almost completely not overhyped, shockingly. That movie was amazing. At some point, I sat in the car for a bit and I was like, dang, all my friends are about 700 miles away. 700 and some change, actually. So that was fun. Bro, my thoughts look great right now. I miss my friends. I also hung out with my sisters. DT lemonade and a smoothie, white chocolate mocha, and a croissant. Very much tryhards. I'm very proud of them. Put together some Lego flowers that my friend got me. I also had another interview with a different company. Let's have a moment of silence for my microphone that died. And then I got rejected from the Jersey City job that I was interviewing for. This really shattered my confidence. It's very easy to trust in God when you have a plan B and you know exactly where you're going. And for the first time in my life, I didn't have a definite picture of what my future would be. It's not that I'm worried whether or not God will do it for me, because of course he will. Instead, I usually worry about whether or not I'm following the right path. What if I'm the one who's standing in my own way? What if I've wandered so far from what he wants me to do that I'm chasing doors that were never meant to be open to me? This is when we remember that God is not the author of confusion. And just because you've been denied more than a couple times for where you thought you were going to go doesn't mean that he suddenly abandoned you. It also doesn't mean that he's let you wander off so far that you're too far away from where he wants you. I can do all things through Christ. This means that I can face uncertainty while being certain of who he is. I remember at the beginning of this year when I was interviewing for a completely different job, and I was talking to one of my friends about how he prayed to God to make that position that he wanted undeniable so that it'd be so clear it was him. And when he did get his job offer, there was only one option. I've asked God repeatedly to make his will known to me, to make it clear. So I shouldn't be surprised when I receive rejections from all the other things that aren't him. I also don't have to treat every single thing that happens to me as a level in a video game where I have to walk away with some grand revelation or some big lesson learned in order to progress. God's not going to hold me at fault for what I don't know about his will and what he hasn't revealed to me yet. Instead, I should be patient. Doubt starts to come in when I'm convinced that I know all of the pieces to my own puzzle and that I must be doing something differently than what God has already told me to do. It's also important to remember how far God has already brought you. I started off this video talking about the possibly best year of my life. Why should I let one rejection or 1,000 rejections get in the way of what God has already done for me? Some people in Israel, they're very forgetful. That's why they kept falling into sin. So what happens now? Obviously, I'm still in Georgia, even though I didn't plan for being here this long, and I'm going to make the most of it. First step that I found is most helpful for my mental is to practice a routine. Having discipline in any form of the store helps me be more productive. Actually, this past week, the days have started to blur together a little bit because of my lack of a routine, but that's okay. Since I have all of this free time, I have no excuse to not pursue the tasks and the hobbies that I've wanted to do in the past. Also, it's okay to start planting some roots here. I usually see this as a term of defeat when I'm somewhere that I didn't expect to be and I become okay with it. But there's a difference between getting comfortable where you're not called and appreciating where God has called you to be in this moment. I'm also going to try leaning harder on my support system. Sometimes I have a bit of imposter syndrome, and that's something that happens within me more, so I try not to impose it upon other people. But this is one of those times where it's really important to be in community and to be around others that dream as big as I do. The last and most important thing I want to share with you guys is to remain faithful. The moment I start to internalize some sort of disbelief, I'm already doubting what God has told me is true. Even if I'm not exactly where I want it to be, I'm way farther than I ever could have gone on my own. I'm also going to try to be a bit more consistent making content, so we're going to see how that goes. Be sure to hold me accountable, whoever's listening. All right, guys, have a blessed day. I love you.